Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us together to do the business of the city for this committee. We pray, Lord, that you would guide us and direct us in the way you would have us to go. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
You may be seated. Is there anyone in the audience that's here tonight to discuss anything with this committee that is not on our current agenda? Anything besides what is on the current agenda? Anybody have any questions or comments for this commission? All right, then we will move along. Action item number 4-1, 4.1, discuss approval of minutes from September 22nd, 2022. Commissioners, are there any questions concerning last month's meeting? No? All right, do I hear a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve last month's meeting
I have a motion for approval. Do I hear a second? Second. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. This is carried. Action item number 5.1, public hearing. SUP 22-03 to conduct a public hearing to receive comments regarding a request for a specific use permit to allow the use of an auto parts storefront on a property currently zoned as Central Business District. The property is 0.2571 acres, the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, also known as 205 Westmore Avenue, Terrell, Texas. Mr. Rogers, would you enlighten us, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Katie's pulled up a map of the location here. This is a suite at 205 Westmore Avenue, and this is currently in the Central Business District and Zone CBD. There is the applicant, Craig Bentley, he's in attendance tonight, submitted an application to obtain a specific use permit to use this suite for an auto parts storefront. This use in Central Business District requires a specific use permit to allow this in that type of zoning. It is allowed, auto parts storefront is allowed by use in retail, highway corridor, commercial, heavy commercial, light industrial, most other zonings within the city short of residential. The definition in the zoning ordinance of an auto parts store is with no indoors only, no repair bays, to use any building or other premises for the primary inside display or sale of new or used parts for automobiles, panel trucks, vans, trailers, or recreational vehicles. 16 letters were sent out to adjacent property owners within a 200-foot radius of this. I believe is there another map that shows that, please? Thank you. So this is the affected property owners by the specific use permit. We sent letters out to them. I believe there's some that we had two respond in opposition of this. And based upon the availability in other zoning districts, staff does not concur with this request. And so with that, that's the staff report from the city.
All right. Any questions or comments for Mr. Rogers before we open the public hearing? Anyone have any comments?
Well, this is the old, the Basswood, the drugstore, right? The one right under the corner?
It's a suite on the west side of that building. I don't know if it's a separate building or a suite that's a part of the main building.
It's included in the structure, but it is separate from the.
Right, so if you're looking at this, what I have highlighted on here, that's the entire property, and it's on the far western side of it. It's a narrow piece on the west side of what I'm showing you here. The remainder is the drugstore proper, or what used to be.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else from Mr. Rogers at this time? All right. Then I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and speak in favor of this request for an SUP for an auto parts store on West Avenue? Anyone here want to speak in favor of it? All right. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and
My name is Gail Harris, and my husband and I have owned a business downtown for almost 30 years, and we currently own the Iris Theater Building and have for the past 20 years. I'm here to say that we're opposed to the granting of this variance. For 20 years, we've worked with the city and the chamber trying to improve downtown Terrell and make it a destination for people to come to when they come through town. The company in question, in our opinion, does not align with what we're working towards for downtown, and it does not fit into the central business district. The business is almost completely an online business, and it just doesn't appear to lend itself to retail. Also, there is no back entrance to the building, so all deliveries have to be made from the street and the sidewalk. If I could share these pictures with y'all. My husband took these pictures yesterday, and that happens on a regular basis. The trucks pull up in front of the store and unload pallets onto the parking spaces, and then they're moved into the store onto the sidewalk and then into the store. And they also load vans and cars almost every day with lots and lots of boxes that they're taken to be shipped out. There is no off-street unloading area for their deliveries or their takeouts, so the pallets take up parking spaces and sidewalk space when they get unloaded. In my opinion, variances for the CBD should only ever be granted to a business that fits into the vision for downtown Terrell and that improves the downtown as a whole. And we do not feel that this business does that, so we respectfully request that this variance not be granted.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to come and speak in opposition?
I may have misunderstood the first question, so I apologize. I'm one of the owners of that business. I wanted to speak for it, but I didn't realize is the person that's doing it if I was somebody in the audience or myself speaking to the business.
I'll give you a chance in a moment.
I appreciate that. Thanks, sir.
Anyone else like to speak in opposition to this?
My name is Margaret Briggs. I will be shortly moving into a loft apartment above Books and Crannies. I'm the former president of the Terrell Downtown Association, where we implemented a concert series to try to bring positive attention to the downtown. I'm former president of the Terrell Heritage Society, where we started the Historic Downtown Mural Project. And this was in regard to trying to create a revitalized downtown for shopping and restaurants. This does not fit into the vision, and in fact, it's a detriment to what we've worked years to try to do. So we're asking you to please not do this. We feel like if you open the door, there may be other small online businesses who see maybe less expensive warehousing options, and they may be here too, wanting a variance. So we're just asking you to please not allow anything that doesn't fit into the vision that so many of us have worked so long to perpetuate. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to this SUP? No? Then, sir, I'm going to allow you to come, and you're one of the owners, I assume?
Good evening. My name is Carl Knowlton. I'm one of the owners of the business over there. So when you hear auto parts, you guys, I think, assume it's like AutoZone or a Napa. We're completely different than your traditional auto parts store. We sell primarily accessory and performance parts for original equipment manufactured parts. So we're dealing with your Toyota, General Motors, Ford, Kia, and we're doing accessories. So we do have a retail presence. We sell a lot of things such as all-weather floor mats, exhaust tips, exhaust systems in general. We do roof rails, luggage racks, bed lighting kits. So we cater to a market of people that are accessorizing their vehicles and trying to make them look nicer, have the options that weren't on there from the factory. We have retail displays. We have retail window space there to do so. We have point of sale. We do have retail business. We do online sales as well. That is part of the business model. But we really want to have a footprint in foot traffic in retail. We have a lot of people that come to our business currently to pick up parts, that buy things on a regular basis. A lot of repair shops, wholesale companies, things of that nature. So we're driving traffic down there already with our existing footprint, which is gonna in turn help the other businesses on our side of the street. Thank you.
I have an issue with this, in regards to the downtown. I know you said it's not an auto parts store, but usually when I drive around auto parts stores, we see, it's gonna be common where people are gonna pull over and, you know, if they go in and pick up something, they're gonna try to put it in the car, you know, with the hoods up and stuff like that. It's something like, I don't think we should be seeing downtown, to be honest with you. There's other locations. I understand they're saying there's not auto parts, but people are gonna try to put their parts in right there in the driveway, in the parking lot. And there's not a lot of parking lot downtown for that. That's just my opinion in regards to that.
Well, one of my concerns will be there's no entrance from the back for them to load and unload. And that highway is just not conducive to that because it's already narrow to have that median there. And if we have customers along that along with them dropping off parts and stuff, it's gonna create a problem.
The only thing that I would say personally is that this doesn't appear to be conducive to what we're trying to do with the downtown section. We're trying to make it is a historical downtown. We're trying to make it amenable to people who want to be able to walk the streets and enjoy the downtown section. I'm not sure that this is the best and highest use for this, and that's just a personal opinion. Anybody have any other questions? Comments? Then I will entertain a motion, please. Yes. I closed it. Sir? Oh, I got it. Yeah, sorry, my mistake. So what we are doing is the public hearing was for comments to be made. We are now going to move to 5.2 in our agenda, which is to discuss and consider ordinance number 2939, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, granting a specific use permit under the provisions of 31B, Appendix 2, zoning ordinance of the City of Terrell, to Craig Bentley, allowing an exception to the provisions of Section 27A, Appendix 2, zoning ordinance of the City of Terrell, for certain property located at 205 West Moore Avenue, the same also being known as lots 6 through 10, Block 81, Terrell Original, City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, by permitting an auto parts storefront to be located on said property currently zoned as Central Business District, provided for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. So we are going to, do you have comments about this, Mr. Rogers? Any questions at all? The public hearing was to hear comments from the audience. This is the action that we're going to do concerning this AutoZone, whether we recommend the city council approval or not. So now, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to deny the ordinance of 2939.
I have a motion for denial of this SUP. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. This request is denied. All right, we are moving now to our item number 5.3, PD 22-04. Conduct a public hearing to receive comments regarding a planned development townhouse residential, PDTH, base zoning on 8.984 acres of land, the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas. The property is located on the southeast corner of Rose Hill Road and the future Windsor Road. The property will be developed into townhomes for a 55-plus gated community of senior living. Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The map's pulled up here. Katie's got the map pulled up here to outline the property. We have, on the top left-hand side, kind of diagonally is Windsor Avenue. And then you can see some of the portions of Windsor Avenue that are gonna be on the northeast side of this property. Some of it's already been built. And you see the Woodlands development kind of outlined to the east of this property. The applicant has submitted a plan development, townhouse residential. Now, if you'll, I'm gonna run Katie around the block here. If you'll go to agenda page 29, please. This is an existing PD that is on this lot, excuse me, that you saw back in 2019. This was passed in by ordinance in September of 2019. You probably saw it at your July or August meeting. And then I'm gonna further ask Katie to go to page 34. And so attached with this PD was this site plan, and it had very few details to this. It was just kind of a very generic PD when it was approved at the time. The idea was some kind of townhome type concept, but there was no detail to it. So since then, the property has changed hands, and the folks that have it now are coming in and asking for a revised PD townhome concept on this 9 acres is what I'm gonna call it. Again, back in 2018, 2019 timeframe, you saw some things related to this, and it was originally approved. If you'll go to the new site plan, Katie, wherever it's at in here, I'm sorry. I'll bounce her around here a little bit. So if you'll go to we're gonna find a new site plan here for the layout here. Bear with me a minute, it's gonna take a second here. So the developer is wanting to add some conditions to the PD. One is to develop a homeowners association to provide maintenance of the property. The development will contain an amenity center and a clubhouse that is maintained by the HOA. This proposed development will have gated entryways into the development. The minimum house living size is to be 1,200 square feet. There's some additional building and landscaping standards that are embedded within this request. And so, generally speaking, if the plan development zoning is approved, the next step would be for them to submit a construction plat that helps plan out water, sewer, streets, and drainage for the whole property, and eventually final plat approval that will plat all the lots for the townhome senior living. Again, there were letters sent out on this, and we received no letters back on this. Since the property already contains an existing PD, the comprehensive plan designates this area as new traditional neighborhood. We have no definition for senior living like this in our comprehensive plan. Therefore, at this point, staff has no recommendation on this request. Let's see, I want to go to will you quickly go over to page 71, please? Sorry, she's gonna, we'll get there. So this is kind of the new layout of this, and again, to reorient you from the other one, this is probably got a few more on it. It's a little denser. You have the map you're looking at here. On the right-hand side is the total layout of all the proposed lots on this. This is Windsor Avenue on the right-hand side of that. At the top of the page there, that's Rose Hill Road. And that's the hard corner that it's on. So it'll have an entrance off Rose Hill Road that'll be gated, and then there's some opportunities for entering and exiting off of Windsor Avenue as well. I just kind of want to show the difference between that and the other original concept plan that was presented. with that, I'm gonna ask, the developer, Pat's gonna come up, why don't you come on up, and she's gonna go back to agenda page 52. He's got a PowerPoint presentation related to this that he'd like to go over with you. Pat Atkins of Terrell Capital Ventures, and I'm gonna introduce him now, so go ahead, Pat.
Thanks, Steve. Can we get this up on these screens?
Honorable Chairman, Vice Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, name is Pat Atkins, representing the partnership of Terrell Ventures, and are here tonight to go through our PowerPoint and discussion of what we would love to accomplish in Terrell, Texas. As Steve pointed out in his presentation, we worked closely with staff and for several months on coming up with this conceptual plan and site plan of modification of the PD that's already in place. As you see in the site plan, next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, here we go. You need us to move these slides now. Okay, thank you. We wanted to bring to Terrell, the community, the empty nester over 55 market, which is a strong market, as I being one, of course. In the need for this type of product in a single-family detached manner. It's stated townhouse, which is typically an attached product. This is a detached representation of single-family residential. All the property. Next slide, please. And you can see the product in that particular slide. The property is totally secured, with gated conditions and fencing around the entire perimeter of the property. The overall maintenance of the perimeter improvements and all the internal improvements of the yard and all will be maintained by the homeowners association established on the land. So we're excited about no maintenance from a standpoint of a homeowner's standpoint, and again, the age variation is 55 and up. Next slide, please. This gives you a detail of the detached product that we're proposing. Next slide, please. And the structure of the unit: 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-car garage in each individual design. Next slide, please. This gives you an architectural concept of the individual residence. Again, the 1-car design and the masonry and component as far as architectural elements are concerned. Next slide, please. This is the clubhouse and the amenity center that's part of the overall development that will be utilized by the residents within the neighborhood. Next slide, please. Again, we're bringing the design and element of construction for the empty nester market of 55 and up, and we're excited to bring it to Terrell, Texas. Next slide, please. The overall elements of design with the product that we're bringing to you will be marketed to the 55 and older, and we're not marketing anything, of course, with the young family approach. So it provides for the demographics that is really in need of that type of product production. So and every municipality is in demand of it. So All that said, I'd be glad to answer any questions and would respectfully request approval of this item.
So do I understand, so is it going to be restricted, 55 and?
That is correct, yes, sir.
And are all your residences going to be three-bedroom, two-bath residences?
Yes, sir.
And there's going to be a fence around the perimeter?
That is correct.
Is it a 3-foot fence, or is it a wooden fence, concrete? What is the?
Wrought iron?
Wrought iron?
Yes, sir.
What will the exterior material be made of?
Brick and hardy plank. Yes, ma'am. Brick, stone, hardy plank. Yeah.
These homes be individually sold to individuals, or will they be for rent?
They'll be marketed for sale. Yes, ma'am. Yes. I'm sorry? That is correct, one-car garage. I'm sorry?
I guess I'm a little confused on just the one-car design. Is it most families, most couples have two cars? Would it be able to fit two cars? One in the garage and one in the driveway?
One in the car, driveway and one in the garage. Again, it's an over 55 market that we're going to. We're not dealing with the young families with 4 different automobiles that we've all been through in our history, but it's a one-car design. If we can go back, if you don't mind.
You have this concept somewhere else too already? With the one-car design and the difference somewhere else other than this design you're doing here?
This is our first, yes, yes.
I can tell you about my neighborhood with this developer that has put one-car garage and have 3 bedrooms. We have a lot of on-street parking. And it looks a hot
That was what I
mess.
was coming to. I
Yeah.
didn't know how.
That's what's in my neighborhood.
Any other questions for Pat? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, so we're going to do this like we did the other. We're going to have a public hearing to receive comments, and then we're going to close the public hearing, and then we're going to progress to 5.4 for our vote. So I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this PD 22-04? Anyone? All right. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to approval of this PD? No? Then I will close the public hearing. All right, Commissioners. Well, let's move to item number 5.4. We're going to discuss and consider our amended ordinance from what you have written to be 2938, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, providing for the creation of a planned development, townhouse residential, PDTH, under the provisions of 31A, Appendix 2, zoning ordinance of the City of Terrell, on certain real property described as 8.984 acres of land out of the John C. Hale Survey, abstract number 202, Kaufman County, Texas, being located on the southeast corner of Rose Hill Road and the future Windsor Road, and more particularly described by meets and bounds on the plat thereof attached hereto as Exhibit A, and made a part hereof for all purposes, providing for the repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to reiterate, the ordinance you have in your packet is correct, ordinance number 2938. I do want to make sure for the record that the item on your agenda is listed again as ordinance number 2939. It was an error on our part. So the item you were discussing considers ordinance 2938, and the agenda reflects 2939 again, which is the previous ordinance that you denied. And I just want to make that clear to everybody. Okay.
Okay, so we are discussing currently about about whether we will recommend to the City Council approval of this PD or no. So do you have questions or comments concerning this?
I do have a question in regards to staff recommendation, it says no recommendation given for this particular one. I wanna know why.
Yeah, this use is not in our, this use is not in our comprehensive plan. We did not contemplated this when we updated our comprehensive plan. Our future land use calls for this to be new traditional neighborhood. Again, we've worked with the developer, and again, we're not taking a stance on this one way or the other from a staff position.
Okay. Well, it seems to me that there is a need for senior living in this city, I do believe. It seems like that this appears to be a pretty decent project, and I'm sure we can work through parking somehow. But because it's not recommended, it's not on there as, there's no recommendation made in our comprehensive plan for senior living. I don't know how we missed it, but I guess we did.
Can I just throw a little more thought out there on it? So think of it like this: for city staff to be able to come forward and affirmatively say, we have a recommendation, we need legal support for that, right? And so in this particular case, this is breaking a couple of rules, right? So typically, townhouse under the comprehensive plan would have a two-car garage, and it'd have a larger parking field outside of it. It would be a wider product. This is a 25-foot wide product. It would be required to be a wider product from a, front of the house point of view. So it's got a couple of strikes against it in terms of, does it truly conform to what your comprehensive plan calls a viable townhouse project? So if they had come forward and just said, hey, we're going to do a townhouse project, and then they had said, well, we want permission to do it with one-car garages and houses this small, staff would have given it a negative recommendation. Because they came forward and said, well, we'll senior living it, so to speak, they'll put deed restrictions on it, they'll 55 and over only, they'll have a HOA that takes care of the grounds, they'll do a fence around the whole thing, masonry, 6-foot fence around the whole thing, and they'll do a security gate, blah, blah, blah. Because they did those additional things, we said, well, that really takes it outside of a defined thing of the comprehensive plan. So I apologize, it really does put you guys in an awkward position, because you've got to kind of make a decision here of, well, it doesn't fit nicely into a category. When it does, we can come forward to you and we can say, hey, we have a specific recommendation on it. In this particular case, it really just doesn't match a product that's contemplated by our comprehensive plan. So you can call that fault of the comprehensive plan, and I think that's probably a good observation. We didn't really study senior living when we did that. But it is violating townhouse rules, so therefore, if they had only wanted to do townhouses, we would have given you a negative recommendation because it lacks certain elements required in townhouse. So it's kind of up to y'all's judgment. Have they made up for that by making it a 55-plus deed-restricted community? And is that a reason you can tolerate the one-car garage when you combine that with the fencing around it and the security and that sort of thing? So we're trying to be polite and just say, hey, you know what? From time to time, we get a project that doesn't fit nicely in the rule book, and we need to hand that over to y'all's discretion as the board that makes these recommendations. If you feel like, man, I'm really seeing this for the first time and I don't want to make a judgment on it just in one quick meeting, it's certainly your prerogative to delay this decision to your next meeting. So I just throw that out there because I see a lot of split thinking on the faces here. But y'all can decide today to go recommend for, recommend against, or you can say, you know what, I need some time to mull this thing over. So I'll turn it back to you, sir.
I'm just questioning as to whether or not if an approval does come with the one-car garage, if we are opening up for potentially others to come along and say, well, you know what, we'll do this if you just allow us to do this project that we want to do. That doesn't fit your comprehensive plan, but we'll throw this in.
I'm going to take that as a good and wise statement. I wouldn't want to rebut you when you say that. You know, we talk to a lot of developers. They do play a little copycat. So that's
okay. Understood.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Well, I got a question. I personally recommend that we don't completely deny it. I want to see if there's a way we can shelve it and maybe the developer go back out and rework this, something different. Probably concept maybe on the parking, something different, because we do need something for senior citizens. I'm not saying we don't. I just hate to completely destroy this down. Is there a way we can show it?
Yeah, so I'm gonna just kind of go slowly through your legal options, okay? So without me saying I love one or the other, I'm gonna rattle off some options. One is, y'all decide as a group you like it enough to say, yeah, we're gonna vote for it and move it forward and send it up to city council. That's a thing you can do tonight. Another thing you could do tonight is to say, we recommend it with these changes. So if you are feeling like you want it changed in a certain way, it's hard to negotiate from the group up there. On the other hand, we've certainly seen it before where there's been a board action where you say, we approve it pending this change, right? So that's a viable thing for you guys to do if you want to do that. You can ask staff to go work with the developer some additional amount, and you can say, well, we postpone this pending additional negotiations with staff. You can deny it and say the same thing, right? So we deny it, and we hope that you guys will come back in a couple of months with an improved plan, and then we'll understand that that's your desire, right? So again, you can approve it as is. You can approve it with conditions. You can postpone it and tell staff to keep working on it, or you can just flat out deny it. And if you deny it, then it's well within their rights to talk with us some more and maybe come back with an alternative plan. Okay, so there's your variety of options.
Maybe I'll speak to the developer. Is there a way to make the design possibly with a tandem, for example, on the garage?
The rationale in the plan, it's a residential detached, but the commitment from a city standpoint and a traffic standpoint and a parking and all the above is the attitude of empty nesters without 4 children.
Right, but I think we're all in agreement that most even empty nesters have 2 vehicles.
Oh, absolutely.
I understand.
It's a must.
I understand, but with the drive and the parking, garage facility, we feel like that would accommodate for the majority of the need. We're not in, we're in a townhouse original designation, which is the attached units that you see, which more, in my mind, in my opinion, gives you more of a multifamily look than it does a traditional single-family product. So you have the opportunity to allow for this, for the retiree community with a strong control within the HOA that says this is the way it's going to be as far as who lives here. There can always be visitors, but it's an issue of who owns and lives there. So from adding garages standpoint, we just don't see the need of a 2-car garage with the retirement community. The whole thought process would change on how we would bring it to you in regards to the design. The parking issues, again, would be if you have 2 cars, one in the garage and one out, there's capabilities with the drive connection to have space for the individual parking or the individual other car. So just adding garages just doesn't make, from our standpoint on the retirement market, it just doesn't make sense.
I guess what I'm trying to understand is when you say it doesn't make sense, what that means.
Well, the demand isn't, we don't see that.
Your research says that one person wants their car outside.
I couldn't say that there's specific statements that say that, but providing 2-car garage in a retirement community just it's not the approach that we take. So,
I would also throw out there that we do live in a location where we're susceptible to severe weather. And a lot of people use their garage to protect their vehicles. Being an older, elderly, who are maybe fixed on the income. And if something happens to their vehicle, I mean, it would be a detrimental economic impact on them, in my opinion. Because I studied severe weather, emergency field, and I know what could occur, and the insurance and everything involved with that. And then that to me, maybe we could just, maybe you could provide us another maybe option out there or another thing to make us feel more better.
from a parking standpoint,
Well, just contemplating, the what ifs, to a certain degree, that's not gonna be totally unreliable, unrealistic. They just base it on the reality. I know that you mentioned it doesn't make sense. Well,
No.
to me, it makes sense to protect the vehicle under a garage.
and I didn't mean to just blanket it in regards to my statement. I would, I would make a recommendation if the commission would allow to table it to the next meeting and come back with some specifics that says why one-car garages are the reason we don't add, or come back with potentially an option of some covered parking within the development that gives the comfort level for additional parking if so needed. But instead of just, we want commission to be comfortable. We don't want to go to council with a denial. And we'd like to have your support. Solution is to table and come back with some, either some additional thoughts that would add to your comfort level, or, and also statistically the rationale behind the one-car garage. Okay?
Well, for me, even if we tabled it, I would still suggest two-car garages, for the simple fact is, it's an inconvenience. I'm over 60, and my husband has a vehicle, I have a vehicle. And if we have a carport, if it was just driveway for one vehicle, it's gonna inconvenience me. Who wants to get up early in the morning, move your car, let the other person out? It's those kind of things. And like I said, I live in a neighborhood right now where a developer has put new houses with one-car garages, and we have a lot on street parking, and it's tacky looking. I don't know how they got away with it, but it just should not be. You should have at least, just 400 square feet for a two-car garage. And that's not gonna cost you that much more. So even if we table it, I'm still gonna say it needs to be a two-car garage. Because I like the idea, for 55 up, we need that, but it needs to be a two-car garage.
Okay.
All right, any other comments? Thank you. Pat? Joe?
We have a very successful retirement community here in Terrell with no garages. They park on the street.
Yep.
And it's full all the time. You have to get on the waiting list to get into it. So I'm wondering if we're making more out of the garages than is really necessary.
Well, if you live in a neighborhood with streets about 12 feet wide, and you got on-street parking, then you'll see why I'm saying two-car.
Well, I don't have a garage.
Yeah, well, I don't either. I have a carport, but I'm just saying, I live in a neighborhood now that has new build homes with one-car garages, and it's a mess. The streets are not wide enough for that in our neighborhood.
Well, I'm sure once Pat or his crew his staff has had a chance to speak again, maybe with the city or whatever, I'm sure that some kind of solution for this can come up. It's a worthy project, so it probably should at least be thought about a little bit. So I don't see that it will hurt us to table this until the next meeting.
I agree. I make a motion to table it. I hope you get to, get with the staff and see if we can do something different, because it's a great project. We just don't want to completely lose it out. I mean, there is a need for it. So I recommend to table ordinance 2938 at this time.
A second.
I have a motion to table this until our next meeting, and I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. This is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. When is potentially the next meeting?
December 15th.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now moving into action item number 6.1, PD 22-03. Discuss and consider a planned development, single-family, executive estates, multifamily, research and technology park, and highway corridor. Base zoning on 1,098.59 acres of land, the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas. The property is located southeast of Interstate 20, south of County Road 305, west of Farm Market 2578, and north of FM 987. The property is currently in the city of Terrell's ETJ. The property will be developed into a mixed-use residential and business park and highway commercial with a variety of uses. Mr. Sims.
So I'm gonna give you the good news and the bad news. The good news is we have a very straightforward staff recommendation that we are recommending approval of this project. The bad news is it's still complicated, and it's still a lot of acreage, and so there's a lot of material here. So I apologize for that, but it has been quite a bit of work and a lot of collaboration. The developer's been excellent to work with in terms of trying to work through some of the details in the process here. So I'm going to do a bad job introducing folks. John Godwin, of course, you've seen him present before. He's our consultant. He's sort of our point person who's worked on getting this project over the hump. Omira Mata, who you guys know on staff, she had to go out of town. She would have been here, but she's been doing a lot of work to try to make sure that we land this project and do a good job with this project. And then in terms of the developer group out here, y'all want to just introduce yourselves? That might be easier. You want to start?
Dawson with Centurion American. Art Barraza with Barraza Consulting Group. Graham Maxey, Centurion American.
And I can tell you that Graham is the one, it's okay if I throw Graham under the bus here. Graham is the one who's been working very hard with Omira to make sure every single zoning detail got worked out and hammered out, and I think we've got to a good position on this. So I'm going to start with a couple of the basics, and that is it is 1,098 acres. It is south of I-20, south of County Road 305, and west of FM 2578, north of 987. It is directly on Interstate 20, where there are no frontage roads right now. This is a very important and very key project, though, for us because we've been working with the Texas Department of Transportation to build frontage roads in this area. So if you're thinking about Interstate 20, think a bit about this as going toward Dallas from Buc-ee's, okay? And so just past the FM 148 exit, that's where that is. And so if you're driving along 148 and you're cruising along, you're hoping to exit on 148, you've come from Dallas, you pass a lot of trees and you pass a lot, you're going up a hill, that's where this project is, okay? You can also identify this project as you're driving out 148 away from Buc-ee's. You go down a little curve, you go past that old rodeo arena, and that's where this project is. In fact, you can see some signs out there that say Los Lomas Municipal Utility District, or you might say Los Lomas Mud that you might have seen out there. That's what this project is. So back in 2005, 2006, the developer who owned it at the time negotiated an agreement with the city of Terrell to develop it as a out of the city limits residential development. A lot of apartments, a lot of high-density residential, and no real good roadway continuity. And so as we started looking at this project kind of to refresh things, figure out where we wanted to go, one of the very first things we thought was, well, state law has changed dramatically since 2005. And one of the big changes is you used to be able to plan these projects where you would say, okay, developer, you guys go build a bunch of stuff on the outskirts of town through a municipal utility district, and then when it's all filled up, when you've paid off all of the debt of all of those roads, water, sewer, drainage, and all of that good stuff, we'll just come in and we'll annex it as a city. Well, y'all know state law doesn't really allow that kind of stuff anymore, right? So state law right now is really saying, if you think there's going to be a bunch of people living in houses out there, you had better just go ahead and annex it, because it's just not workable to have a bunch of people on the edge. So you might imagine, and I'm just going to have to say the names out loud, Travis Ranch, Windmill Farms, those are examples of MUD developments outside of city limits. That means they're having the constable go do the enforcement. That means they have a volunteer firefighting force going do firefighting, all that sort of thing. It gets into just a really difficult administrative mess for you to say, well, gee, do I live in the city? Nope, not really. Can I get a city service? Nope, not really. Am I paying city taxes? Nope, not really. Lots of problems come from that. So we thought, well, better to engage in a lengthy process of trying to negotiate something where they would be willing to annex in, and we could have that be beneficial to both parties. So you're seeing bits and pieces of this, and there's a bit in the write-up about this of, okay, think about all the stuff that needs to happen. So y'all probably saw a press release recently from the county. They did approve the tax increment refinance zone associated with this piece of land. That's a major step, because that means that the county has looked at this and said they're willing to put their property tax dollars into it. When you go in and you look at the agreement that is signed between the city and the county, it includes a really interesting provision that the county insisted on. They said, we don't ever want more than 2,390 single-family homes out there, and we don't want ever any more than 630 multifamily out there. Those are reductions from the current allowances that are in the current development agreement back from 2005. So they're reducing their 2005 allotment of residential. And they have been so serious about their willingness to do it that it's actually included in our agreement with the county. And the county property tax dollars help fill the economic gap there to build this infrastructure that we need. So we've got our vote from the county, and we've got our vote from the city approving the tax income refinance zone, and it's got capped levels for residential in it. The next thing that we needed to do was to make sure that we figured out a way to get water supply to this particular project. They're going to have to build a lot of water supply on their own. On the other hand, they do have an industrial component, which is Blue Star. Blue Star is the group connected with the Dallas Cowboys, and they're doing the 177 acres that will be on the frontage road. So we are confident that that's a good participant with us. They'll build a good quality project for us. But we did want to make sure that we were coordinating with our Economic Development Corporation. So what did they do? They recently voted to put $10 million on a water line that would run from Apache Trail and come down Los Lomas. So imagine that you're at the corner of Spur 557 and Los Lomas, and you go to that gigantic cul-de-sac that we have down there. Well, that's where that water line would run. And Los Lomas Boulevard, as you've heard on one of our other projects, would run all the way down to Interstate 20, cross Interstate 20, and keep going down. Well, the EDC is paying for a water line that starts at Apache Trail, goes down Los Lomas, and then dead ends just south of Interstate 20. It was important for this project for them to have a water line to tie onto that crossed Interstate 20, okay? So you've got EDC support approved by the EDC board. You've got county support approved by the County Commissioners Court. And now the question becomes, okay, how do we do on the actual land uses associated with this project? The very first thing that we did when we started working on it on a staff level was to raise our hand and say, look, we've really got to mix up the housing product that is on this piece of land. It's a very static kind of a high-density single-family residential with some multifamily allowance on it. We need to do something that mixes that up. So they agreed to put an arboretum on the property. So when you say arboretum, what do you mean? We mean a nature preserve that's a ticketed thing. So we don't have one of these in town, but you see them from time to time. There's a Longview Arboretum. There's a East Texas Arboretum down in Athens. There's, of course, the Dallas Arboretum. And so what you do with those is you say, okay, we're going to run a private partnership there. And in order to enjoy those grounds, which are outfitted with lots of really nice things, you've got to walk up and you've got to go buy a ticket to get in there. That creates a different feel for the entire environment, right? So we've got a lot of work to do to outfit that and to make that happen and make that a great space. And we'll take that challenge on. We'll use some of those county property tax dollars to make sure that the Arboretum has lots of amenities in it. We think the Arboretum won't just be on this property, but we've got a planning project underway to expand the Arboretum to some other areas as well that are nearby so that we can actually make that a larger thing. But they're giving about 100 acres total, part of it floodplain, part of it 30 acres, 35 acres outside of the floodplain for our starter kit for Arboretum. Then around that, they're putting 137 estate lots. Those are half-acre lots, and they're making sure that those lots can really be anchored with that Arboretum to be a good amenity. Then the other thing they're doing that was a major point in our negotiations was, you guys know, our school district is growing, and they've got to have land. So when the school district can acquire 16 acres of land for an elementary school at no cost to the school district, that's a good deal for our community. So they were agreeable to put a school site in there. They were agreeable to put some athletic fields next to the school site and give us a future fire station site as well. So all of that school site and that sort of thing, all of that's on Los Lomas Boulevard. Los Lomas Boulevard gives us that massive north-south connections on the west side of town. We just started construction on the corner of 80, 205, and 148, and you guys know that's going to be a mess, right? And all during that construction, we're going to wish that Los Lomas Boulevard already existed, right? But it is what it is. We're going to maximize the intersection at 205, 148, and the railroad tracks. And after that, we've got to have Los Lomas. This developer is coming forward and saying we're going to dedicate the land for Los Lomas, and they're going to help us get Los Lomas stage constructed, okay? So from basically the elementary school site all the way up to Interstate 20, they'll be building 2 lanes going north, 2 lanes going south. From the elementary school section going south, we won't get all of those lanes until the end of the project, so you got to phase construct these things, but we'll start out with a good mix there. Very happy about that. I would tell you that the 50-foot lots and 40-foot lots are a mix, right? So there's about 1,000 units of each of those. You would like to be able to say, hey, we got huge, giant lots all over, but you know what? Those are good starter homes these days. They've agreed to some very good, strong masonry requirements. Front facades will be 100% masonry, and they have good masonry standards on the exteriors around those. So we think that's a great step forward for us. Those are 2-car garages. And I think very importantly, they've agreed to some very aggressive street standards for us. So I kind of have to paint this picture, but it's one of the exhibits. I don't know if you could find it real quick, but it's the residential street standards associated with the project that are way deep in the thing here. The idea that you live on a thin lot begs for us the question of, keep going, back one, you were there. I saw the word, there you go, touchdown. All right, so it's kind of difficult to read here, but see where the tree is, where it says 14.5-foot parkway. So think about that for a minute. I've got the edge of the curb. Then I've got 10.5 feet to put a tree, okay? Then I've got a sidewalk that's 4 feet wide. That really creates a different kind of streetscape. You got a 31-foot roadway. That's a few feet wider than what you see in Forest Creek, just kind of for a reference, right? Okay, so if you drive around Forest Creek ever, that's a fairly new neighborhood for us. That's wider than your neighborhood, right? Which we wish we had built Stallings with a wider street. So that's a wider street than you would normally see in residential. It's got the big parkway, the 10-foot offset to put a tree in. And so that means that you've got, over time, a tree-lined street. Okay, and we think that's really going to create a different look for these small lot homes. Then the other important thing that's on one of the other maps, but you don't have to change, from the edge of the sidewalk to the garage is 20 feet. So what does that mean? If I put my Expedition between my garage and the sidewalk, I have room for it, right? That's a hugely important thing. You go to some of these neighborhoods in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and as soon as someone's parked there, you know, their F-150 or their Suburban or their Expedition, it's hanging out over the sidewalk, and it makes your sidewalk impassable. It's not a fun and nice place to walk anymore. This way, that car is all the way off past that sidewalk, And I think that's going to be a major improvement for us. So they agreed to some really nice streetscape standards here, and we really appreciate that work that they've done there. I'm going to flip over to one very specific page deep in this agreement, because I'm going to tell you, it's the one thing that we all necessarily wanted to think about. It's going to be agenda item page 107, and this is the key issue of, okay, I'm driving down FM 148. I've come from Buc-ee's, and I'm driving south, and I'm going to go find that as I go around that curve and I cross Los Lomas Boulevard and I'm on FM 148, on one side of me, right, I'm going to have an apartment and then the back of some residential properties. And on the other side of me, I'm going to have that Blue Star development. So one of the things that we really talked through and really tried to work with the developer on is, what is my screening standard? There's a good chance that there'll be loading docks over there, right? So you want to screen those loading docks. So if you look through here, what they're doing, and this is Section F, Part 2, when loading docks face, there's a set of rules there. Basically, what those rules are telling me is you've got to have a 25-foot landscape buffer. There's going to have 2 rows of alternating trees. So I have a tree here that's a big shade tree. I go down a little distance, I got another big shade tree, and so on down the line. They combine that with fencing, they combine that with berming, and you've got a better look to that, and you've got a better offset there. So there's no residential driveways, like there's no houses facing 148, but you do have a little bit of the back fence of part of that development where you're going to be there. So we wanted to make sure we had a good offset there. We wanted to make sure FM 148 continued to have a pleasant appearance to it, and we think we've achieved that by putting some of these landscape standards in here. So that was a highlight. That was something we spent some time working through. Katie, if you could possibly get me back over to the exhibit that is the overall concept plan, and that's going to be I think I've got it as agenda item page. Sorry, mine did not print very nicely with agenda item pages here. Maybe 94, agenda item page 95. Almost there. Whoop. There you go. Whoop. All right. Whoop. All right. That's good. Don't move. All right. So, all right. So again, just let it all soak in here, okay? You see the floodplain on the right-hand side of the page, okay? So that's kind of the north side. That's that little bit of floodplain where the arena was built, the rodeo arena was built, and you can see that white line where FM 148 comes through. I mentioned to you last time, FM 148 from the I-20 frontage road to the south end of their property becomes a 4-lane road at their expense, okay? So they are stepping up and they're saying, we're gonna make major improvements to local roadways. They're building roadways that TxDOT's responsible for, they're building water lines, they're making their contribution as a developer to major pieces of infrastructure. So you go through that curve, you see a little bit of retail there, where that retail/light industrial is there. That's the corner of, or right up at the corner of 148 and Los Lomas. Los Lomas is that white line that goes diagonally through here. It's actually next to a gas pipeline that's an underground gas pipeline, so you get a little extra offset, a little extra green going there. And then on the left-hand side of the page, that's where the higher density units are, where it's the 40-foot lots and the 50-foot lots. But you can see the attempt here was make it easy for those folks to be able to walk to that elementary school. Make it easy for those folks to be able to go down that collector or come over through that school collector and actually just walk over to that nature preserve. We're trying to design this as a good place to live over the course of time so you can get to the green spaces, you can get to the ball fields. Same thing with those multifamily projects. If you're in that one that says MFB, 396 units, that becomes a very nice residential place to live because you're directly adjacent to some really good amenities. So again, there's push and pull with everything. It is negotiated because we did have to incent them to annex into our city limits, but we feel like after a lot of work and a lot of cooperation on both sides that we've got there. So that's a quick overview of a big complicated project. This is going to take the form of some of the approvals that you've seen in the past that we've done with these annexations, where if you are willing to move forward on the project, your motion would be in the form of approving the zoning pending annexation and development agreement. Okay, so there's a little nuance there. Last thing I need to say is that nothing is error-free. You're always going to make some mistake, and we did notice a mistake today. Several places in this document, we've listed that area that is identified as MFA, 234 units, as 13 acres, and that's wrong. It's actually 14 acres. So we made a mistake, but we want to tell you that, and we want to let you know that we would like to fix that. And if you don't mind, if you are willing to move this project forward, then we would ask you to stick that into the motion to refer to that as 14 acres, not 13 acres, just because that is a technical detail that's important. And like I said, I apologize for making a mistake on that. So again, kind of a big overview. Pardon me for being lengthy in my description there, but I thought it was important. And you've seen this come forward, and then staff said, hey, wait, don't take action yet. We're very comfortable that we've ironed these details out and that we're able to move forward at this time.
Okay. Anyone have questions for Mr. Sims?
I did have a question related to the nature preserve area, and then you made it, obviously the title of this development is Arboretum. So I've been to the Dallas Arboretum, and there's a fee to go in and
Right.
skate it and everything. So that's the same concept you're doing here?
Yes, sir.
Was there any thoughts or anything to somehow make it, we're gonna get a lot of people coming from all over the place to check this Arboretum out. With that being said, was there any thoughts or maybe, an idea of making it more economic for city residents or county residents?
Absolutely. So thank you for that question. That's a great clarification.
Yeah, because-
We're gonna, so there, you're putting your thumb right on the next steps. One of the next steps on this project is that we are about to initiate a Arboretum planning effort. The Arboretum planning effort is going to get more detailed in answering that kind of question. I would be shocked if the study, which your park board will look at and your Park and Downtown Improvement Corporation board will look at, so they'll go handle those park issues. I'd be shocked if they don't 100% agree with you, and I know that's going to be my recommendation, is create a pricing structure that is highly beneficial to City of Terrell taxpayers, because of course it matters very much to us. But you're right, we do want it to be over time, and I don't want to give anybody an unrealistic expectation. Day one, when it opens, we're going to be happy it's a nature center. We're going to slowly take in money from a variety of sources, just like Dallas Arboretum took years and years to develop, Longview Arboretum took time to develop, and the East Texas Arboretum in Athens took years to develop. It's a multi-year process. It's not going to be Dallas Arboretum day one, but our Arboretum planning study that's about to get underway will answer a lot of those questions and really help move that forward. So yes, is the answer, but I gave you the long version of the answer.
And last question, is there a way where we could actually, if we approve it, add that as a condition so it won't be missed? Or you feel very confident that will come up during the planning?
I feel very confident that that's the direction this whole thing's going, and it's technically outside your purview as a zoning commission, but yeah, so, yeah. I understand, and we will pass that thought on. Yeah.
Mr. Sims, who's the idea of the streets, the trees and the difference between so who's responsible for the maintenance of those things?
We are going to be putting chunks of this into a homeowners association that I don't feel like is fully fleshed out yet. Some of the projects that we're working on right now, we're putting the maintenance of the front yards into homeowners association. I don't want to say that we're exactly doing that. We do foresee that the street trees need a little bit of special tender love and care. Because of course that's going to be very important. Obviously the multifamily will be doing its thing as a standalone, but I don't want to say that there's a definitive question or a definitive set there. There is a requirement in the development agreement for them to have an HOA, but I don't want to claim that that's fully negotiated.
So are we at the point where we can vote on this if these things have not been negotiated?
I would say that the detail level of HOA is just not, I mean, it's a maintenance issue that may go one way or the other based on, yeah, I'll put it this way, it would be premature, and the way we typically do that is to say, hey, you need to submit your HOA document when you submit your construction plat. So as a, for example, let's say they get Home Builder A. Remember, they're the developer. They're gonna build the streets, get the lots ready. If they sell to Home Builder A might say, well, we like doing our HOAs like this. Homeowner B might say, or Home Builder B might say, we like it like this. So I don't wanna name home building firms, right? But you guys can imagine the litany of those. Some of them have one strategy, some of them have another, and I don't want to claim that there's going to be just one template out there. So I think that question to me would be a little premature of this. Yeah.
So are all the streets inside this addition going to be 31 feet wide streets?
The Collector A is a 60-foot right-of-way. Collector B is an 80-foot right-of-way. Los Lomas is a 130-foot right-of-way. 148 stays as a 100-foot right-of-way. But yes, sir, after that list, all of the other ones have that 31-foot street cross-section requirement.
You're gonna be an off-ramp for those Los Lomos off of 20?
Yes, so we're currently negotiating that with our friends over there at Texas Department of Transportation. The preliminary schematics, I guess I can't call them preliminary anymore, the official federally approved schematics for Interstate 20 for those frontage roads includes a location to put an off-ramp for Los Lomas Boulevard. So that is in the works, and TxDOT has approved that. They're actually doing land acquisition for that right now.
Oh,
So when do they anticipate construction?
They are trying to accomplish all of the land acquisition by the year 2025. They are actually, we just processed some land they're buying from the city of Terrell a couple of weeks ago, and I would tell you that if you ever try to claim in a public meeting when TxDOT will build something, you're sure to be wrong, but it's about a $500 million project to build the section we're interested in, and we're listed as one of the 2 priorities on the Interstate 20 section in our TxDOT district. So that's great, we're the priority project, but I wouldn't want to give you a year because TxDOT can pull that rug right out from under you, so.
Well, I was just curious about the, if this were developed before I-20 gets service roads and the off-ramps and all that stuff. So really the only interest into this is down to 148.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. No, and it's, I would anticipate that for a period of time, this is going to be rather difficult. And in fact, we required them with their traffic impact analysis to study it as if the connection with Los Lomas and the frontage road did not exist. So when they did their traffic analysis, we said, hey, don't take that thing for granted. Assume that TxDOT fails in building that, and that's part of the reason why that FM 148 improvement happens. We simply can't let them build this development on a 2-lane road. They know and we know they've got to make those improvements on FM 148 to make that a 4-lane road from one side to the other. So that's a perfectly great point. Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Questions?
Yes. Once it's all said and done and approved by us in city council, would this, once it becomes annexed, and I'm understanding that everything will be annexed, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so all the permitting process and everything moving forward would just, the authority would be City of Terrell?
Yes, sir.
Not the county?
Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah. That's, I would say the major processes that we take on is we're the police entity of record, the fire department of record, code enforcement of record, plating authority, all of it. Every single thing, as soon as that moment it annexes, then we're the entity of record. And I will tell you, there are cities that have MUDs next door that would tell you they hate that there's somebody else doing those things next door. And you hear a lot, oh, the constables, they do a good job over at such and such development in the county. Well, from my point of view, the constables aren't set up with the detective force that we have, and it's just not a comparable thing. There's some nice retail work, so to speak, that you can do with constables, but it is not at all the same thing as having your own police force. And the coordination you can do with your local police department, with your code enforcement department, man, that works wonders. That is a very important thing for us. So I would tell you 30 years from now, this has to be in the city limits. So I appreciate I appreciate the developer being willing to work with us, so.
Anybody else? All right, no questions for Mr. Sims, no discussion. If that's the case, then I will entertain a motion.
I think we need to open and close public hearing.
Oh, this is not a public hearing. I don't believe.
We've already had a
We done, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Public hearing was opened and was left open and then closed the following month. All right,
We had a long public hearing.
yeah. All right, do we have a motion, please?
I'd make a motion that we approve the planned development, single-family, executive estates, multifamily, research and technology part and highway corridor of 1,098.576 acres, Arboretum Estates, PD 22-03.
Okay.
Can I just clarify that that would be pending council-approved annexation and development agreement?
Yes, sir.
And can I clarify that that would include adjusting the multifamily A to the 14-acre number?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I have a motion.
I second.
I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. This is carried. I think the rest of this meeting will go faster because everybody's getting hungry. Item number 6.2, discuss a construction plat for Hillside Addition being 322.33 acres, the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas. Mr. Rogers.
Around Sue Hall's here. Well, there he is in the back there. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, we've been working on this project for quite some time. And I need to let the developer, in the back there, Ted, if you don't mind, would you, introduce your team or let your team introduce themselves? But I want to introduce to you Ted Zeta. He's the developer of this property.
Ted Zeta, I'm the developer. My engineering department is right here. And my engineer from my office, David Lamb, and he's the associate sitting in the front. And of course, Jeff Cranley, one of the old-timers, partner of engineering. He's getting to a point that I guess sometimes he forgets. But he's a very, very competent engineer.
I'll just say, I've done a lot of work with Ted on this project, and I gotta run off, but, I really appreciate Ted's efforts here. This whole team's been just a nice, special work, so thank you, Ted.
Okay, so as a background information for this, this is 635 residential lots on 322 acres. This development was in a PD that was approved by Planning and Zoning Commission April 23rd, 2020. Now, at the time, the PD ordinance had 242 acres in it and less homes. They've acquired additional property adjacent to it since then. This property is wholly within the city limits of the city of Terrell. And again, we started working on engineering on this about 2 years ago, and this has evolved over time, and so I appreciate the work of Earl Escobar. I'll mention him. We've plowed a lot of ground together, and Jeff Cornell, both of them with Cornell Engineering. We've done a lot of work on this. So the map you have in front of you here is kind of what I want to start with, and really this kind of helps paint the picture the best way. So if you're looking at the map, the bottom of the map is Francis Street, Old State Highway 34, okay? The bottom left-hand corner of this is about where I would say, right at the edge of the map there is what I would call the Goggins Funeral Home. And then you have Town North, Drive is on the left side of the map, and this is the Town North Estates Phase 5 is on the left side of this map. Poetry Road is on the kind of the top left-hand corner of this. The high school is kind of at the edge of this on the left-hand side there, just to get you orientated. New State Highway 34 is to the right of this map. And so I'm just trying to get you your bearings. That's on the north side of town on Francis Street. They have it broken into 3 phases, but Phase 2 has 3 different phases, 2A, 2B, and 2C, and then you can see Phase 3 is scattered in 3 different areas with quite a large, that's the largest portion of this is Phase 3. So if you can read that on the map, it may be clearer on the one in front of you there. Each phase has a total number of lots. So as you can see, Phase 1 has 105, I believe, that may say 104, 105 lots. Phase 2A has 40 lots, Phase 2B has 44 lots, and Phase 2C has 37 lots. Or did I read that right? Yeah, I think that's right. And so those are broken up into various portions. So in the PD that you approved and council approved back in 2020, there's garden homes that are allowed with a base zoning of SF6. And then there's some 3/4 acre lots, half-acre lots, and others sprinkled in here in the different colors, and that's part of what this map helps tell the story. So the request, so if you'll go one more page, if you don't mind, Katie, please. So this is the construction plat document. So I moved off of a nice, pretty color map, and I moved to a real engineering world here, and this is the construction plat for the overall development that shows everything on one map. And so that's what's needed to help us piece all this together on the front end, knowing that they're gonna do this in phases. So all that same stuff you're looking at is on this map here. So if you'll go back again. So tonight's action, when we get finished discussing this and taking questions, is going to be to approve construction plans for Phase 1. Phase 1's broken into 2 areas. You can see kind of the magenta color there. You have garden homes on the left side here, and then you have some of the 3/4 acre lots in the yellow there that are highlighted. That's part of Phase 1. Then Phase 2A is down at the bottom, kind of a little triangle there right off of Francis Street. Phase 2B is another little triangle that's tucked up in here by that electrical line along what's going to be called Whit Ranch Parkway, which they're building as a portion of this. And then Phase 2C is some more of those 3/4 acre lots that are up there in that newly acquired 83 acres that brought the total of this to 322 acres. So they're bringing off-site sanitary sewer from near the police station out on State Highway 34. Bringing off-site sewer out to this area to serve it, and we worked with them on that in cooperation with that. The water is adjacent to them in the existing Town North development to feed into this development. There's adequate water there. And so we worked on drainage. They've got some detention they built, and so the streets and the names and all that, we've gone through all that and been through a lot of this in great detail, and we think we've got 4 documents for you to take action on tonight. Phase 1, Phase 2A, Phase 2B, and 2C. Those are separate actions. Those are separate construction plats that they have submitted. And so that's going to be the 4 actions we're going to ask you to take after this. So with that, I'm going to see if I can see what questions there are right now.
Any questions?
That's fine. Again, the zoning, the allowances are in a plan development that was approved by P&Z about 2.5 years ago. And we've worked on engineering. We've added some acreage to it since then, but they're basically ready to go. And we, with no questions, Mr. Chairman, we want to move through the 4 different construction plats that you have, again, Phase 1, Phase 2A, Phase 2B, and Phase 2C. Everybody clear on those?
Sure. Before we proceed with that, I did have a question regarding the city park that's shown here. Is that proposed part of it as well, or?
That's still part of some ongoing negotiation. They are showing that as a city park. It is actually a part of an easement that the lake that's there, the blue area that's contained around is actually a drainage structure, a flood retarding structure in the NRCS, and there's a flood easement around it, and we're gonna try to dual purpose that. We still have more work to do with the NRCS. That's the federal agency that oversees these. We still have more work to do to see if we can use that for parkland or not. They want it to be, but I'm not sure that it can be. And they just draw it on the map, but they're not platting that area right now. When we get to Phase 3, before we get to Phase 3, that will be a major topic of discussion.
You need to discuss, do you need to discuss each of these plats individually before we take?
Yes, sir. I had a general discussion item to go over the entire thing with you. I'm gonna ask, it's really hard to do on these because we get into engineering plans here. But again, in your packet, as you move through here, you're gonna have 4 separate applications from the property owner here, and they're gonna follow, again, with acreage and number of lots as we discussed, and these will be engineering drawings. So for instance, let's tackle Phase 1 before we get there. So if you'll go to agenda page 161, I believe that is, if you can read that. Keep going. Keep going, getting close. Keep going, one more page. There we go, thank you. It's hard to read.
Hey, Mr. Rogers.
So if you look at, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
Before we begin these 4, is there any action needed on this number 6.2?
No.
Discuss this construction plat?
No, sir, I just had that as general discussion to kind of go over to remind you of the PD that you had approved back 2.5 years ago, talk about the overall development. The phasing map was needed because this is complicated, and so it helped to do that. Now I'm gonna kind of break you down into the real meat of this. So this is page 1 of the Phase 1 area, and this is one of those. You can flip back to that color map if you'd like to and take a look. If you'll go one more page. The other way. Thank you. That's the other part of Phase 1. So you remember, if you go back and look at your color phasing map, you had Phase 1 in 2 different areas, garden homes, and then you had the 3/4 acre lots. So on the construction plat, it's broken apart that way. And so I'm just kind of showing you what Phase 1 looks like, because that's really what we approve is that document. And behind that, and what I mean when I say behind that, is that those are just 2 sheets that go in a large set of plans that Earl and I have been working on for the last year, back and forth, trying to get those ready, water, sewer, streets, drainage, all that's contained in the construction plat document. I just didn't feel like there was benefit to me bringing 4 large sets of plans and laying them in your lap. I'm just trying to give you the overall, and you typically just see these construction plat documents themselves when you take action on those. I just want you to know that a construction plat is more than that. It is actual set of engineering plans. So again, you have those 2 pages for Phase 1. I'm just giving you an example, Mr. Chairman. When you look through all these, you'll see an application that has a checklist, and following the checklist is going to be a construction plat document that looks like that has a lot layout in it. So I just kind of thought I might want to cover that before you get to it to help ease the next 4 actions. Any other questions for me?
No, sir. So are you going, so you've covered all these 4 as much as you want to go? Okay, so,
I just need action on that.
okay, So, Commissioners, what we're going to do is we're going to take one item at a time, and we're going to make our motions and vote on each one. And we will begin with item number 6.3. Discuss and consider a construction plat for Hillside Ranch Edition, Phase 1, 105 lots, being 60.635 acres, the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas. You have questions before we begin? Any questions at all? Okay, then I will entertain a motion, please, on this phase number 1.
I'll make a motion to consider construction plat for Hillside Ranch Edition, Phase 1, being 105 lots, being 60 acres, .635, in the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas.
I have a motion for approval of this construction plat. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. This is carried. Item number 6.4, discuss and consider a construction plat for Hillside Ranch Edition, Phase 2A, 40 lots being 10.018 acres out of the J.W. Gardner Survey, abstract number 183, the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas. Any questions? Discussion? Then I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve construction plat for Hillside Ranch Edition, Phase 2A, 40 lots being of 10.018 acres out of the J.W. Gardner Survey, abstract number 138 in the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas.
I have a motion to recommend to the city council approval of this construction plat. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. This is carried. Item number 6.5, discuss and consider a construction plat for Hillside Ranch Edition, Phase 2B, 44 lots being 7.849 acres out of the J.W. Gardner Survey, abstract number 183, the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas. Any questions? I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the construction plat for Hillside Ranch Edition, Phase 2B, 44 lots, being 7.849 acres out of the J.W. Gardner Survey, abstract number 183, City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas.
I have a motion to recommend to the city council approval of this construction plat. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. This has carried. Item 6.6, discuss and consider a construction plat for Hillside Ranch Edition, Phase 2C, 37 lots, being 42.560 acres, the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas. Any questions? Then I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to consider construction plat for Hillside Ranch Edition, Phase 2C, 37 lots, being 42.560 acres, city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas.
Okay, you recommend for approval, right?
I recommend for approval, yeah.
I have a motion to recommend to the city council approval of this construction plat. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. This is carried. All right. We are moving now to our last couple of items, I believe. 6.7, discuss and consider a final plat for Yee Edition, lots 1, 2, and 3, block 1, being 42.408 acres out of the ML Swing Survey, abstract number 500, the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, also known as 14899 County Road 236. Mr. Rogers.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I was looking at the application, for this, Hillside Ranch Edition Phase 2C.
Yes, sir.
The application says 37.156 acres, right?
Okay, for that,
Yeah, we just approved, when you look in the notes section, it says, what was that, 47?
40.
42.
42.
Yeah.
might have been an error made on.
Okay, all right, just checking.
What was it, the 42 or is it the 37?
Do we have to amend the approval?
Well, I'm looking at I'm sorry, if you'll go to the document, the engineering document, please. If you look at this, if you can read there in the right-hand corner of that, it's hard to read, but I do believe that this construction plat is 37 point, whatever, 15 acres. There's, you have it, I'm sorry, the complication here, I think, is they used this document on that application. If you'll go one more. Yeah, if you'll go, I'm sorry, if you'll go one more page, please. You have this additional acreage in it. There's no, right now, there's no, they're platting this with it. This makes that, I can't read that because the writing's too small, but I believe this is what gets it up to 40-something acres, is this additional piece right here. And that must have been an error on their part, but I don't think, that doesn't change anything because the plat document's gonna follow these legal descriptions, not their application. Thank you.
So there's no need, just to confirm, no
No,
need
sir.
to amend?
No, sir, there's not. No, sir.
Okay, we're at item 6.7. I believe
Okay, so, she's gonna quickly find me the map for this. So here's a map of the current situation there. This is, 42 acres approximately. And, the owner wants to split it into 3 lots. So the red, it represents where his current house is, and that's currently a lot, I'm assuming that's shown by the Kaufman County Appraisal District. This property's never been platted. So if you go to the next page, the county road where the house is in kind of the, what I'd call the top right-hand side of this. That's County Road 236. And so the house, he's wanting to keep 20 acres for himself. And I believe his strategy is to make 2 10-acre lots next to that and sell those off to somebody. And that's the reason why he's doing this. So he's taking 42 acres, keeping 20 for himself, and making 2 other lots 10 acres and selling those off. And that's what we're doing here. This is within the city limits, Terrell.
Okay. Any questions? Discussion? If not, then I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the final plat of the Ye Addition, lots 1, 2, and 3, Block 1, FP 22-24, being 42.408 acres out of the Survey Abstract Number 500, City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, located at 14899 CR 236.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to recommend to the city council this final plat. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. This is carried. Item number 6.8, discuss and consider a final plat for Tolbert Addition, lots 1 and 2, Block 1, being 3.098 acres out of the Mary Gilbreth Survey, Abstract Number 166, the City of Terrell, ETJ, Kaufman County, Texas, also known as 9532 County Road 2578.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an ETJ development, and if you look at the map that that Katie has pulled up, you have 3 acres. Excuse me, and they're trying to split it not quite equally, 1.2 acres and 1.8 acres. And this is, it's maybe hard to see here, but I'm gonna try to describe this to you so you understand. This is FM 2578 that's on the left-hand side of the page that goes from the southwest to the northeast there. And then if you go down a little ways here, this roadway that's on the bottom part of the page is Meadow Way. That's the main entrance into the Meadowwood Addition, if you're familiar with it. And so this area it's hard to see here, but I think you can make it out on this map here. Starting at 2578 on the north side of this property, there is a platted 20-foot access easement, and it starts at the roadway at FM 2578, goes all the way beside this red property that's highlighted here, and then it keeps going And it goes all the way off of the right-hand side of this map. It goes a lot further than that. And it serves several houses that front along here, and this is their access and their frontage road. So this is being carved off of, this has been cut up over the years, and so they're cutting a 3-acre lot into 1.2 and 1.8 acres, essentially what they're doing here, but it has access off of this, this roadway that's been there that serves many people, including people back to the east of this lot as well here. And so I just kind of wanted to show you that there is access to these lots as they split them up like this, so I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So being an easement is not an actual street, road, or lane?
It's a
drive?
20-foot access easement.
So it carries a name to it, or?
No, it's just a 20-foot access easement. I don't know, they may have named it. I can tell you that some of the residents that live down here on the other end of this are gonna probably petition the county to try to make this a county road. It is outside the city limits. And I can understand that, but having a 20-foot access easement's not gonna be wide enough. They're gonna have to give up a lot more frontage to have a real county road through there if they want to. I don't think the county's gonna do that personally, but they can ask them. You may see some more plats coming in related to this area because we got some other issues going on out here with some of the neighbors. But this one, specifically the Talbert plat, is to take the red area and split it 3 acres into 1.2 and 1.8 acres. That's the action we're asking for tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the final plat for Talbot Addition, Lot 1 and 2 being of 3.098 acres out of the Mary Gilbreth Survey, Abstract 166 in City of Terrell, EJT, Kaufman County, Texas.
I have a motion to recommend approval of this final plat. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. This is carried. Good night. Go get you some lunch, breakfast, whatever it happens to be.
One quick thing before
Yes, sir.
everybody leaves. Y'all are welcome to adjourn, but I would like to remind you that we are off schedule tonight. And we're trying to only have 2 meetings in the 3 months of October, November, December. And the last meeting this year is currently scheduled for December 15th at 5:30 PM. That's my understanding from O'Meara. So I know she's polled everybody and talked to them. Is it a problem for anybody